Hey, it is a dark episode for April the 22nd, 2023. I can't help falling in love with you. I have, I guess, two now associations of Elvis. One is a childhood friend, Jimmy, who was this adopted kid of what was probably, at least at the time, considered older parents. And he got everything. He was like a really good friend that way to have because he was the friend who had all the toys. And, but he was also, I don't know if he was spoiled or just had really hard, like, where his actual parents came from. I don't know if you know, maybe he was native. He might have been. It's one of those things I never even actually ever thought about. Um, but he was super into Elvis and he collected Elvis. And I think I kind of ended up collecting Elvis too. And it was like, I never actually listened to the Elvis at the time. It was like as a kid thing. It was just you're acquiring the various tapes. And it's like, oh, I got this one of Elvis and this one of Elvis. All his really crappy movie albums and things like that, or what seemed like crappy movie albums. I mean, I'm sure there's, you know, but yeah. So that was my big association of Elvis for me. That's how I was introduced to Elvis. Is sort of this thing that just was acquired by this kind of slightly kind of raging, kind of spoiled, kind of excess kid in the 80s, early 80s, when I was when I was, my, you know, tweens to the maximum, because past that point, we were apart, we split, and that was it. I think the last thing I remember of him is him having some horrible tantrum and me leaving, and that was the end of it. Um, but yeah, that's been my memory. But my memory now is probably going to be of the resident who is in the process of passing away. They also had a big fondness for Elvis, so I'm playing Elvis for them while I'm spoon feeding them their their boost, their ensure, their kind of enriched drink. That's basically the only dietary kind of supplement, the only supplement, the only diet, the only thing of nutrition they're getting now in their final days. And playing Elvis, and it's interesting to have kind of like a childhood memory, and now have a memory that's, I think, going to be tied to kind of the end of life. It's funny, there's a couple of people I've worked with like that. There's like Johnny Cash. There's somebody who, a fellow I worked with, he was big into Johnny Cash, and yeah, he was a very Johnny Cash kind of guy. Um, yeah, yeah. So it's interesting, that kind of memories of, like, you know, to be honest, performers that I don't really have a connection to directly, I just have a connection to them through these people in my life. So, yeah, that's my little dark thought for the night. More videos later.